My beloved child, something has changed behind the scenes, and the truth you have been waiting for is finally beginning to surface. There was a moment when someone heard the complete story, saw the missing pieces, and suddenly realized that they had judged you without knowing everything. The evidence they discovered did not create your innocence, it revealed it. And the person who finally told them everything may have said something so unexpected that it completely changed the way they looked at you. Don't skip, because this is where the story begins to turn. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. You may have felt misunderstood, ignored, or unfairly blamed while everyone seemed to believe a version of events that never represented what truly happened. But now, something is moving. Someone is connecting the details. Someone is remembering conversations, noticing contradictions, and finally asking the questions nobody wanted to ask before. And when the truth started becoming impossible to ignore, emotions became overwhelming. Here is what makes this revelation so powerful. The person who knew the missing truth did not remain silent forever. They finally stepped forward and explained what they had seen, what they had heard, and what they knew about the situation. Suddenly, the story that had been repeated so many times began to fall apart. The details did not match. The accusations did not make sense anymore. And the people who once looked at you with doubt began looking at you differently. Imagine the weight of realizing that someone you misunderstood was actually carrying the truth all along. That realization can hit harder than any argument because it forces people to confront their own assumptions. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because there is another part of this story that has not yet been revealed. And then came the emotional moment nobody expected. After hearing everything, someone became deeply emotional, not because they discovered something bad about you, but because they finally understood how much you had endured while being misunderstood. They realized that you had opportunities to defend yourself, yet you chose not to turn the situation into endless conflict. They began to understand your silence differently. What once looked suspicious suddenly looked like patience. What once looked like distance suddenly looked like protection. And what once seemed like weakness suddenly appeared to be strength. The evidence did not simply clear your name, it changed the entire story. But this is only the beginning. There is still one final detail about the person who revealed everything, and when that detail comes out, you may finally understand why the truth took so long to reach them. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. What happened next was the part nobody saw coming. The person who had finally revealed the truth did not stop with a simple explanation. They began putting the missing pieces together, one detail at a time, until the entire situation looked completely different. Suddenly, conversations that had once seemed confusing started making sense. Moments that had been misunderstood gained a new meaning. And the people who had doubted you began realizing that they had only heard one side of the story. Don't skip, because this is where the emotional shift becomes impossible to ignore. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The truth was not arriving through a dramatic announcement, it was arriving through undeniable details that quietly changed everything. Someone finally said, "There is more to this than you were told," and that sentence opened a door nobody expected to walk through. Then came the discovery that made everything feel real. A piece of information surfaced that supported what you had been saying all along. It could have been a message, a remembered conversation, a timeline, or simply someone finally admitting what they personally witnessed. Whatever form it took, it gave the situation a completely different perspective. The people involved could no longer comfortably hold on to the old assumptions. They had to reconsider everything. And that is when the emotion began. The person who had misunderstood you started remembering every moment when you tried to explain yourself, every time you stayed calm, and every time you walked away instead of making things worse. They realized that while they were judging you, you were carrying the frustration of knowing the truth without being believed. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. But the strongest moment was still ahead. The person who told them everything revealed that there was one detail they had kept to themselves for a long time. Not because they wanted to hurt you, but because they were waiting for the right moment to speak. When they finally explained it, the entire situation became clearer. The person listening became emotional because they understood that you had been carrying an unfair burden that never belonged to you. And suddenly, their anger was replaced by regret. They wished they had asked more questions. They wished they had listened more carefully. Most importantly, they realized that the truth had been closer than they ever imagined. This is why you should stay until the end. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next revelation is not about what happened before, it is about what someone is finally ready to do now. There was one question nobody had asked until now, and the moment someone finally asked it, the entire atmosphere changed. Why would they do that if they had something to hide? That single question forced everyone to look at the situation from another angle. The person who had been telling the truth suddenly became the person everyone wanted to understand. Don't skip, because this is where the hidden pieces begin connecting. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The evidence was not just about proving one moment or correcting one misunderstanding, it revealed a pattern that had been overlooked for far too long. Someone started comparing what had been said with what had actually happened, and the differences became impossible to ignore. Little by little, the truth became stronger than the assumptions. Then came the conversation that changed the emotional direction completely. The person who finally knew everything looked back at the moments when you were treated unfairly and realized how easily your silence had been misunderstood. They remembered how you did not constantly defend yourself, how you did not chase everyone for approval, and how you allowed time to reveal what words could not. At first, they thought your quietness meant you had nothing to say. Now they understood that you simply refused to turn the situation into something bigger. That realization touched them deeply. They began asking themselves why they had not trusted your character sooner. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next part is where the evidence becomes emotionally powerful. Sometimes the strongest proof is not a dramatic confession, it is the consistency of someone's actions over time. And then, unexpectedly, the person who had revealed everything shared one final piece of information. It explained why they had remained silent for so long and why they finally decided to speak now. They had watched enough. They had heard enough. They had reached a point where staying quiet felt more unfair than telling the truth. When the others heard this, their emotions became overwhelming. They realized that the truth had not disappeared simply because people ignored it. It had been waiting patiently for the right moment to be recognized. And suddenly, the person who once doubted you understood something important. You never needed to become someone else to prove who you were. Your actions had already been speaking for you. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because what happens after this realization may completely change the relationship between you and the people who once misunderstood you. The room went quiet when the final explanation began, because this time nobody interrupted. The person who had carried the missing truth for so long finally explained what they knew from the beginning. They described the moments that had been overlooked, the details that had been misunderstood, and the reason they believed your side of the story. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. What made this moment so powerful was not the volume of the conversation, but the certainty behind every word. There was no need to exaggerate anything. The truth was becoming clear through simple details that connected perfectly. Someone who had once doubted you suddenly realized that they had been looking at an incomplete picture. And when that realization settled in, their expression changed completely. Then came the moment that carried the most emotion. They remembered how quickly they had believed the wrong version of events and how slowly they had listened to you. They remembered your patience, your distance, and the moments when you seemed hurt but chose not to argue. For the first time, those moments looked different. Your silence no longer seemed confusing. It looked like someone trying to avoid making a difficult situation even worse. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. The person who had once questioned your intentions now understood that your actions had remained consistent even when nobody was giving you credit. That realization brought a wave of regret. They wished they could go back and listen differently. They wished they had asked you directly instead of accepting assumptions as facts. And suddenly, the person who had told them everything understood that speaking up had been necessary. But there was still one thing nobody expected. After hearing the complete story, the person who had misunderstood you did not simply walk away. They began thinking about what they could do to make things right. They knew that an apology could not erase the confusion instantly, but they also knew that avoiding the truth would only create more distance. So they made a decision: they would finally face the situation honestly. They would stop relying on assumptions and start listening to what you actually had to say. This was not about winning an argument. It was about finally giving the truth the respect it deserved. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next moment could reveal whether this realization becomes a temporary emotion, or the beginning of a completely different chapter. And this time, the truth is no longer hidden in the background. It is standing directly in front of everyone. The moment they decided to face the truth, something unexpected happened. Instead of rushing toward you with explanations, they stopped and reflected on everything that had happened before. They realized that the biggest mistake was not simply believing the wrong story, it was failing to give you the chance to be heard. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The evidence had already changed their understanding, but now their emotions were changing too. They began remembering your smallest actions, the times you showed patience, the moments when you stepped back instead of creating more tension, and the way you continued moving forward even when you knew people did not understand you. Suddenly, those details carried a meaning they had completely missed before. Then came a conversation that revealed just how deeply the truth had affected them. The person who had finally spoken up explained that they had watched the situation unfold for longer than anyone realized. They had noticed things that others ignored. They had seen how quickly opinions changed whenever new information appeared, and they knew that your character could not be judged from one confusing chapter. Their words made the others pause. For the first time, someone openly admitted, "We should have listened to them sooner." That sentence carried more weight than anyone expected. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The person who once doubted you began to understand that an apology was not merely about saying sorry. It was about accepting responsibility, listening without defensiveness, and acknowledging that you deserve to be understood before being judged. And then the emotional turning point arrived. The person who had been carrying the doubt finally admitted that the truth had touched them deeply because it forced them to reconsider everything they believed about you. They were not emotional because the situation had become dramatic. They were emotional because they finally understood your heart in a completely different way. The evidence had answered the question everyone had been asking, but the deeper revelation was even more powerful. Your consistency had been telling the truth all along. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Now there is only one question left: what will they do with everything they have discovered? Will they finally come forward and tell you what they now understand, or will fear make them remain silent again? The answer is closer than you think, and the next moment may reveal the decision they have been quietly preparing to make. The decision was already forming in their mind before they ever said a word to you. They had replayed the situation again and again, not because they wanted to reopen old confusion, but because they finally wanted to understand what they had missed. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. The person who had once accepted assumptions now had a completely different perspective, and that change was becoming impossible to hide. They started realizing that your silence had never been the proof they thought it was. Your patience, your consistency, and the way you continued forward had all been telling a story of their own. And the more they understood, the more they felt that one conversation with you was necessary. They knew they could not change the past, but they could change what happened next. Then the person who revealed everything gave them one final piece of advice. If you really want the truth, stop listening to everyone else and listen to them. Those words stayed with them. Suddenly, they understood that no amount of guessing could replace a genuine conversation. They began preparing themselves to hear your side without interrupting, without defending their old assumptions, and without trying to control the outcome. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. This was no longer about proving who was right. It was about finally allowing honesty to exist between people who had been separated by misunderstanding. The emotional weight of that realization was enormous, because they knew that when they finally approached you, they would have to acknowledge the mistakes they had made. And then came the moment that nobody expected. They decided they would not wait for another opportunity to disappear. They would take the first honest chance to speak with you and tell you what they had discovered. Not with excuses. Not with accusations. Just the truth. They wanted you to know that the evidence had changed everything, and that the person who had told them the complete story had opened their eyes to what they could not see before. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. Don't skip, because this is where the story moves from discovery to action. Someone who once stood at a distance is finally preparing to step forward. And when that conversation happens, there may be one sentence they say that reveals just how deeply they regret misunderstanding you, and why they now see you in a completely different light. The moment they finally decided to speak, their confidence disappeared for a second. They had imagined this conversation many times, but imagining it was easier than actually facing you. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you. They knew they could no longer hide behind old assumptions because the truth had already changed their understanding. Before approaching you, they took a deep breath and remembered everything the other person had told them. Every missing detail. Every overlooked moment. Every piece of information